Hey, what is up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to make your own softbox. You've seen a lot of those cool like aperture lights or other things online and that other content creators are using, but you can actually do this very cheap, and honestly it's pretty much the same effect. And my hope is that this tutorial will help you be able to figure out how to do this and that you can better light your videos. There's a lot of other tutorials out there, but this is by far, honestly to me, the cheapest and most efficient way to make the best quality light possible. But before I go on, please be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing here, and feel free to share this with their friends if this tutorial helped you. Now let me bring in a little friend and we're gonna get top-down view shots, and let's get this tutorial started. All right, for this method, you're really gonna need three basic things. Number one, you're gonna need a box. Any size box will do. I've used something that was a lot bigger than this and it worked fantastically, but this is the first time that I'm downscaling this project because I just don't need that big of a light anymore. And number two, you're gonna need a light. This light has been used on my last project, but it is literally just a very cheap LED light that I got from Walmart. It cost about $16. There are bigger versions. There might be a smaller version, but honestly, this will suit your needs. And for 16 bucks, you really can't beat that. And what's nice about this is it's very compact and it doesn't take up much space, and so that is a big bonus when it comes to lighting because we don't always have the most space in our studios or our bedrooms or wherever you're filming stuff, so this light is perfect. And that being said, just to add to the idea box of what this project could be for you, if you find another LED light that has different color hues or you can change the color temperature, that's cool too. If that's something that you need, you can definitely find an LED light out there. It may be more expensive, but for me, this is perfectly fine, and I love the temperature that comes out of this light. And number three, some diffusion fabric. This isn't actually diffusion fabric. This is actually like a mattress cover that protects against like water damage and all that other stuff. But I just had this laying around because I had an old bed that this used to fit and it was pretty new and I didn't want to throw it out, and I realized that it's pretty see-through and it works like diffusion fabric because it's white, semi-transparent, and light going through this will be able to disperse more evenly, and this helps eliminate really sharp shadows and just makes an even nice lighting overall. So this I'll use to cut out and apply to the light when it's done. Let's get this out of the way. That's a lot. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to attach this light to this box. For this, you can do it in a bunch of different ways. The last project, I kind of cut out a whole hole and I kind of taped it from the inside and outside. For this, honestly, I'm probably just gonna cut a little hole where the light comes out and call it a day. But I've used duct tape on this thing. As you can tell, there's a lot of duct tape residue from pulling it out of my old light. But you can attach it however you feel. But really, it just depends what you're using it for, so you can apply what I'm telling you and alter it to your own little project to make it work for you. And so now I got the scissors, and so now we're gonna try to figure out where to put the hole for the light. It doesn't have to be very exact. As long as it's decent and the light gets through, then that's all that really matters. All right, so let me just, I mean, a straight edge cutter is probably more ideal than this, but I'm feeling a little bit lazy today, and so I'm just gonna do it with my scissors, just like the old days, nice and nitty gritty. But yeah, you can kind of guesstimate. I think I cut this a little too short, so I'm gonna have to expand it a little bit, but you kind of get the point here. The good part is that no one's really ever gonna see this, so it's not a big deal if it doesn't look very good. But just like that, the light should fit right there, right where the light's coming out, and that should work just fine. Now this is optional. Out of scraps or other pieces of cardboards, you can create sort of like a triangular shape to fit in here, and you can actually kind of make it a little bit more dispersed out with the way the light comes out of the box. But for me, I want simplicity, so I'm gonna cut off these tabs and keep it simple. And another option that you can use, I don't really know if it helps too much, but my last project, I just spray painted black on the inside, so that way the light was just completely distributed directly outside the box. On this project though, I don't think I'm gonna do that because I'm just kind of lazy right now. So this old camera, the battery died and I did not have enough batteries charged out because this has been in my closet since like forever. So we're gonna switch over to this camera real quick for the top-down view so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so the next part, I'm going to just cut off these tabs. Again, you can use these however you want and customize your light. But I just want something small and simple so I can have just like a simple little fill light. Because in the end, it's not the quality that you're really getting, it's the overall effectiveness of how the light actually functions. That's what's more important. All right, and there you have it. This is the base of what you're gonna need. Pretty simple. So what we're gonna do is attach the light to the back here, and as you can tell, the light's gonna come through quite nicely. But before we get to that, I'm going to put on the diffusion fabric, and this could be anything you want, or you can actually get diffusion fabric for pretty cheap online. But any white fabric will probably do, but we're gonna trace this thing out and get this cut out on here. So I'm going to take a Sharpie and outline it on the fabric. Make sure my fabric's flat. And so what I'm gonna do is outline just barely outside of where the box actually is, because I'm going to use the extra little fabric that I get from that to fold in and tape onto the box. Again, doesn't have to be pretty, just enough to get the job done. And there we go, it's all traced out, and let's cut it. If your light is too bright, you can always use multiple layers of fabric depending how transparent your fabric is. But on my last project, I just used one layer of this fabric and it worked perfectly. And we're gonna take the box, place this over here, and then we'll tape this around the box. So I'm using Gorilla Tape. Again, this is probably more extreme, but you can just use duct tape or whatever you got laying around. As long as it sticks, it ships. I'm gonna roughly measure how much I'm gonna need, but I'm just gonna rip it down the middle because I only need a sliver of it. So what I'm gonna do is lay this down face down like this, and I will apply the fabric to it so that way I can lay everything nice and flat. And just rinse and repeat for all 4 sides. All right, so I'm gonna put this face down just so I can line it up the way I want. There we go, and then I'm just gonna fold up the edges over here. Sorry, you can't exactly see what I'm doing, but you get the idea. I'm just folding this up and taping it to the side, just like this. And just like that, we have the DIY softbox light done. Now, the last thing is to add the light. And the nice thing about this light is it kind of extends out. This is kind of meant for putting it on the floor or on a table or wherever you're working. But this is great for hanging on places or even using it handheld if that's your thing. But yeah, it's pretty versatile. The only thing I wish I could do is get some sort of adapter for a tripod maybe. But besides that, this is as simple as it gets, and it does the job. So I'll leave this part up because I'm just gonna tape around here, just kind of jerry rig it to this. And this back part of this light does tend to get pretty warm if you leave it on for a long time, so I'm not really sure how safe it is to have tape right on the back there, but it holds on just fine, and the main important part is that you're using it as a light. It doesn't have to look great, but it just works. All right, let's plug her in and see what she does. All right, so we're gonna flip the switch and see what we got. So it is a nice, soft, diffused light. My camera's not really exposed for this right now, but if I turn off my other lights, I'll be able to show you what this looks like just with this light. Alexa, mischief managed. All right, so the lights are off, and we're gonna use just this softbox light. And depending on what camera you use, you just have to set the exposure. But typically, if it's just on auto, it usually does pretty good. But as you can tell, this is just a nice little soft light, and I'll show you what it looks like on a face. But yeah, there we go. I kind of reset the exposure a little bit on my camera, but as you can tell, this works out pretty well. Obviously, I don't have anything in the background lit right now, but I'll show you here in a second what that might look like if you have lights in your room or wherever you're filming. Ah, my camera fell. This is where the technique of how to use the light comes into play, because that affects what it looks like on camera. So right now I just have it right in front of me, just like this. And this is a pretty good position. It just depends on your style. If you like more dramatic lighting, you can move it around, see what you like. If you just want that direct lighting, just put it right above the camera, just like that. And that works great. And if you change the size of this light, if you make it go bigger, then you have more light to work with. It gets distributed a little bit more evenly. This is pretty strong for it just being a very small and singular light. But as you can tell, it does its job, and it's very cheap, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on a light like I did to get a nice lighting. But let me turn on my background lights just to give you an example of what this could look like in your own setup. Alexa, Lumos. And there you go. I honestly like this. This is a really nice setup. I think it's very simple. It depends how you want your things to look on camera, but for me, it's all about controlling lighting. If it's anything that I've ever learned from using lighting, is to control your lights. Turn off your main fan light in your room if that's where you're working at, because that light is just very ugly and not appealing most of the time. And so making a softbox and a light like this is definitely a huge step up amid other people who are just starting here on YouTube or making content online in general and other social media platforms. But the great thing about this light is it's very versatile. You can use it to light up your desk or do other things with it, product photography, all sorts of things you can do with it, and it works phenomenally. As for me, I wanted to make this thing as small as possible because I don't have much space between my monitors where I stream and make YouTube videos, and I just needed an extra light to help fill in some shadows because it was just a little too dark with my lighting setup that I have right now. Because even just a little light like this used in the right way is immensely helpful to improve your video quality. And I have another light that I bought off of Amazon for about 160 bucks that I really like, that basically does the same thing. It's just bigger and a little bit more fancier. Let me turn that on. So again, it depends on your setup. The light that I bought works great and I love it and I don't regret buying it, but it does the same thing, but it has a softbox and it distributes the light. So this little light is gonna help me light my face a little bit better during streams and YouTube videos. So I'll be figuring out where to put this thing exactly, so it's not on camera, but I hope that this tutorial helped you guys. I know for me that I searched anywhere and everywhere to figure out how to make a light, but it was either a little too complex or just seemed a little out there. But for me, this is like the middle nice ground because it's just a box. It's some white fabric and a cheap $16 LED light. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. And so hopefully if this helped you out, I would love to see how this light handled. You feel free to tag me on social media or wherever you post your videos. I'd love to see the results of this little tiny DIY light. I think it's fantastic. And just as a reminder, you don't have to have a lot of stuff to make your videos look good. Just make DIY stuff like this at first and just keep going, experiment. It's all about practice and getting better at what you're doing. But with that being said, I stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you're interested in coming hang out, it's a really nice time. I'm an artist, I do a lot of artwork and sometimes random crafts like this. And I also make a bunch of TikTok videos. So if you're into that, go follow my socials down below. So check out the links in the description to go follow me there if that's something that you're into. Come hang out, ask me questions, and we can have a chill time on stream and make some art. But be sure to like this video because it really does help me out. It helps push out the video, and I hope that this video can reach as many people as it needs to. And with that being said, I will catch you guys next week. Peace.